Hello, Internet. It is Ida Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recap. So, we are well into 2022, and when it comes to January, it existed. That is literally the nicest thing I can say about it. It happened, and that's it. Yeah, it was a pretty depressing month. Only 5 movies came out the whole month. Five. Five. Now, granted, that's a significant improvement over last year. Last January, we only had two, but still, that's not great at all. And what made it really depressing were two things. One, some movies decided to leave at the last minute. Looking at you, Morbius. And another thing is that majority of people were still watching this weird, obscure comic book movie. I forgot what it was called, like Man, Spider, whatever. It's not important. But people were still watching that movie. I mean, in fact, 3 of the 4 January weekends, that Man Spider movie was number one. So, yeah. So people would rather watch that over anything else. Well, they were also watching Sing 2 to a lesser extent, but still, besides like those two, it was wasteland, boy. And of all the 5 January movies, only one made somewhat of an impact. And we'll talk about that later. But let's go through these in order. As usual, I'm going to be comparing like my predictions to what actually happened. I get to see how accurate I was, how wrong I was, because that's always fun. So let's get started. Okay. So the first movie of 2022, the movie that kicked off the new year, the 355. Oof. Okay. This I think we can all agree this movie was screwed from the very get-go. Like this movie had no chance of success. And lo and behold, it wasn't successful. Now, my prediction, I predicted it would open with like $5 million and make like between 10 to 15 million total. And it opened with 4.6, so it was close. I was fairly accurate. And so far it's made $14 million, and at the rate it's going it could crawl past 15. But still, this is a disaster no matter how you look at it. I mean, the movie cost $75 million. So this is horrible. And when it comes to why this happened, well, there are several reasons why this happened. One, that Man Spider movie again um, was still making all the money in the world, and everyone was gravitating towards that and pretty much ignoring everything else. So that was the first problem. The second problem is that the movie just, I don't know, from like a marketing perspective, it just, like, what was special about it? There was nothing special about it. It felt like too similar to so many other action movies. Like, hell, even the poster said from the studio who brought you Jason Bourne, and people were like, yeah, this kind of reminds me of that. There's also like comparisons to that, Ocean's 11. It's a lot of stuff. It's just, it felt like it was painfully generic. It blended in with the crowd way too much. So that was the second thing. Third thing, the movie just straight up wasn't good at all. Word of mouth pretty much killed it before it even had a chance. Four, this movie was made by the guy who made Dark Phoenix, and that should really tell you all you need to know about why it was screwed. And yeah, so when it comes to the 355, it was doomed to fail, and fail it did. And you are definitely going to be seeing it at the end of the year when you do like the usual biggest bombs of 2022. I guarantee you this will be on that list. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. So yeah, the 355. You were. There's nothing else to say. You were screwed, and now you can join the graveyard because just thinking about like December and January, there's been so many bombs. It is so disheartening. Granted, some of those movies kind of deserve to die, but yeah, it's bad. But thankfully, things get a bit more positive the next weekend. So we got two movies to talk about here. The first we're going to talk about is Belle here. Now when it comes to anime, I hate predicting it because I'm always wrong all the time. Because it's notoriously difficult to predict because you never know when fans will show up for a movie. And with this, like my prediction was like had a wide range, like between 1 to 5 million, like 6 to 10 total. Because I honestly didn't know if a whole bunch of people would be interested in this movie. And, it did open with 1.5 million. It did do that. So it opened within the range of my opening prediction. But when it comes to the total, it's only made 3.6 million. So I don't think it's going to reach that 6 million mark. So, that kind of sucks. But it could have been worse, I guess. I mean, especially since this doesn't have exactly, brand name recognition, like, say, I don't know, a Demon Slayer or Dragon Ball or a My Hero Academia. This wasn't like those. So, it could have been worse. And I guess, yeah, it could have been worse. So that was Belle. Now, Scream. Scream, Scream, Scream. The Scream 5, actually. The big winner of January. Was it ever really in doubt? Did anyone doubt this movie's chances? Of all the January movies, this was the only one that had a chance of success. It was the only one people actually gave a shit about. And people did indeed give a shit about it, judging by its box office. Now, with my prediction, I predicted it would open between 25 and 30 million for the 3 day and like 30 to 35 for the 4 day. That's what I went with. I knew it would at least do better than Scream 4 because Scream 4 just did so bad. And to my well, I guess, to my satisfaction, it opened with 30 million for the 3 day. It opened with like, I think, let me check. Yeah, 33 for the 4 day. So it hit my prediction. Quite, my prediction was quite accurate with this one. And the legs for this movie are a bit better than I expected because with a horror sequel, you kind of have to expect short legs. I mean, that's been happening quite a bit recently. Look at Halloween Kills. That movie had a big opening and then it just fell like a stone, especially once Halloween was over. This didn't fall as hard. Its legs are a bit better. They're definitely better than Scream 4's. And its total is now 68 million and it still has time to make more money. And while it won't be the biggest Scream movie ever, it will at least decimate the fourth movie. Because if we look at the Scream series here, yeah, Scream 4 only made $38 million, and Scream 5 beat that number in like a week. So, yeah, and just looking at this, it just makes you wonder what the hell happened to Scream 4? like, really? How did that happen? And if you ask me, I think maybe the nostalgia effect didn't quite kick in yet. And also, like, the horror genre was like in a really bad place where you had a bunch of really bad and crappy revivals and reboots and remakes, and people thought this was kind of in the same vein as those and they avoided it. But now, like, the horror revival is a lot more accepted than it was 10 years ago, which is why I think it did better, had a better chance of success. So yeah, Scream 5, congratulations. You were the first success story of 2022. So, yay, you did it. So, yeah, that was Scream 5. And the next week, we had, there was, I guess, well, actually, with this Tiger Rising you see here, I didn't cover it because it wasn't like I think it wasn't wide when I did my video on it, so I'm not going to talk about it. It's not like it's important. It made no money, so who cares? But let's talk about the movies I did make prediction videos on. The first one is The King's Daughter here, a movie that was filmed in 2014 and came out 8 years later because nobody wanted to touch it. I think Paramount had it, and then they just did nothing with it and just yeeted it out there, hoping someone else would get it. And then nobody got it for years until someone else got it, and then boom, release date, and it came out. Yeah, that's still crazy. 8 years, an 8 year gap between filming and a release date. Like, God. Anywho, so yeah, with this, obviously, my predictions weren't high at all. My hopes weren't high. I predicted it would open with like between 500,000, like $1 million, somewhere in that range, and it hit pretty much in the middle of that range, with 723,000, and it's made 1.7 million. I think my total prediction was like between 1 and 2 million, so I was accurate with this. So yay, this movie, it lived up to my uh below the floor expectations. So congrats, I guess. But yeah, this movie's a bomb, obviously. I mean, the movie costs like 40 million, made like one, like, yikes. There's nothing positive to say. And we're gonna move on to the last January movie I cover, and that is Redeeming Love right here. Now, I predicted it would open with like 3 million. That's what I went with. And like it's told to be like between like 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. And to my surprise, this actually exceeded my expectations a little bit. It opened with 3.5 million, and it's made 8 million so far. Over 8. So yay, I guess. I think something I didn't really went over when I made my original prediction videos, that this had like a faith based element to it. I think I went more towards like the more romantic side of it, but yeah, I didn't acknowledge that. And I think, was this I yeah, like Pure Flix, Pure Flix, the God's Not Dead people. um yeah, they have a really bad reputation. I don't like them at all. But yeah, they produced this movie. I didn't even know that going into making that video. So but once I figured it out, I was like, oh, well, this might get some of that faith based crowd to watch it. And apparently it worked to some extent because it didn't completely embarrass itself. So, yay. Oh, so yeah, and that's it. That was January. Like, if things went differently, I would have talked about Operation Fortune, the newest Guy Ritchie movie. I would have talked about it like the 21st. I would definitely want to talk about Morbius on the 28th. At least January would have ended with some type of bang, but Sony decided to push that to April, which pissed me off. So, yeah, like that January 28th weekend was so boring because there was nothing to talk about. So, thanks, Sony. But yeah, that was January. Again, it was very lackluster, very depressing month for cinema. The only winner was Scream 5, which to be fair, did make a good amount of money. But besides that, it was just a month to forget. Now, I guess we gotta talk about what's gonna happen next. So obviously, we're now in February. We're like one weekend into February. We have one winner and one big old loser in Jackass Forever and Moonfall. When it comes to February, like predicting the winner is a bit harder. Like for January, it was very easy, but for February, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be a tie, maybe a fight between Jackass Forever Death on the Nile, Uncharted, and Marry Me. I think any one of those could win theoretically, but Jack is Forever has the lead, and I guess we'll just see what happens with the other movies. Although, if I had to really guess, I think Uncharted has the best chance, but I could be wrong. But yeah, but that's February. We can cover that whole month in detail in March. But anywho, yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check more videos like this? Got playlists on the homepage with all previous recap videos I've done. You can check out all the 2021 recaps where you can just see how that year evolved, how it started, how it ended. So you can do that. There's also box office predictions where I predict box office for movies. I've covered all these movies, well, except for Tiger Rising, because again, I didn't make a video on that. Or for the others, you can find that in the 2022 prediction video playlist. That playlist still isn't very big, but it will get bigger. Okay, give it time. Okay, it will increase in size. So if you want to watch any of those, you can go right ahead. That way you can you can see like you can watch them and just see like my deeper analysis of these movies and how I thought they were gonna do, like everything that they had going for them and against them. You know, want to watch those? Go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I know I covered the 355 once. I covered Scream once. And that's it. Those are the only ones I actually covered. And with Scream, it actually stuck to its date, which is a rarity these days. So, uh, yeah. So, but if you want to watch, and plus, I just did a canceled episode. It was like, what was it? It was on, but the main thing was like with Easter Sunday moving to August and how I thought that was one of the dumbest decisions I've ever heard in my life. So want to watch that video. That's episode 105. But you want to watch any of the others, since there's now 105 episodes, and go right ahead. Go nuts. You got watch them all in chronological order. You know, do it. It'll be either fun or depressing, one or the other. Anywho, yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.